there is one man gleefully laughing at the torture, and he's our next guest. I got to spend time with him, meet him, grow to be friends with him in Kansas City at that time. You now watch him on FS1, and it should be noted, he is our most successful guest here in Watch DA Live over football season by the metric of views and downloads, and I'm sure he's going to love bragging about that. Our friend, Nick Wright.
Two-minute warning, 4th and 6, 4th in our... Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Go be the greatest team ever. Is he? Oh, he dropped it! He dropped it! He dropped it! Let's go! Let's go!
That was the scene last night at Casa de Wright. Nick Wright joins us.
Indeed.
Here on Watch.
What's up, buddy? How are you? Couple things. First, who's the Marquette Marvel? Is that person a shade under 6'1", or else you're going to hear from my attorneys? I don't know who that is.
That's producer Aiden, who has here on the show that you.
Oh, okay, got it. Oh, the person in the picture. Oh, okay. I didn't. All right, yes. I didn't know what Marquette Marvel meant. I thought it was. Okay, I'm an idiot. All right, got it. No problem. Second of all,
just under 6'1", just over 6'1". We'll talk later.
Okay, perfect. Sounds great. You did have a fact error, which is very unlike you on that thing. What? It said noted Chiefs. And then you misspelled a word, or 2 words actually. Truth teller. Oh. You wrote apologist. It's truth teller. And I listened to your amazing open, and everything you said is correct. You can't help but feel terribly for the Bills and for their fans and how torturous, unprecedented. No one's ever lost the same quarterback 4 times. People think, oh my God, Brady tortured Peyton. Brady beat Peyton twice ever in the playoffs. 2 games ever. So yeah, all that's true. Which is probably why the Bills shouldn't have traded Patrick Mahomes to the Chiefs.
Well,
I think they probably shouldn't have done that. And
up again, nice.
And listen, I don't know the sports media scene during the roaring 20s, but do you think a lot of people were like, oh, let's feel bad for the Red Sox because Babe Ruth always kills them? It's like, no, you shouldn't have traded him to the Yankees. I don't know why I'm the only person who seems to find this interesting. Well, the Bills traded away Mahomes, and Mahomes beats him every year.
Okay, so let's clarify this for those that are uninitiated. The Bills held the draft pick where he was selected by the Chiefs. The Bills traded that pick to the Chiefs and traded out of that slot and picked up more picks. Now, they get Josh Allen ensuingly, so...
How's that working out?
Well, I think pretty well, aside from when they played the Patrick Mahomes Chiefs.
I would say the flip side of that is, say it's the single most disastrous thing that's ever happened to him.
Okay, all right. Beyond that,
I'm just saying, sorry. My bad. I mean, they just traded Patrick Mahomes, and now he beats him every year.
I wanted to ask you this. You went on a battle war cry warpath against Adam Schefter yesterday in advance of this game. Schefter tweeted out, which were facts about how many penalties have gone for the Chiefs versus against their opponents in the postseason. And my only question to you is, do you feel a responsibility to defend the Chiefs because they are your hometown team? And thus, if somebody comes after him, you feel like the weight on your shoulders? Or would you have done this as an unbiased observer if you were a Steelers fan or a Colts fan?
Well, I can't answer that hypothetical. What I can answer is I was not responding to his tweet that were the facts. That's not what I was doing. And I think that's a misleading framing, to be totally honest. There's a million facts out there, and you choose on an NFL Sunday what to publicize. Like, here's a fact. The Philadelphia Eagles have been penalized less than their opponents in 8 consecutive games. That's a fact. Nobody cares. I was enraged already because he had an article, not a tweet, an article that I thought was one of the poorest pieces of journalism I've seen from a mainstream media reporter, where he says relief is on the way. He writes that in the article for football fans about the scourge of roughing the passer penalties and the Chiefs, saying the NFL might make these further reviewable. And to write that article and not include in the article the first one in the Texans game was reviewed. It is already reviewable, and it was upheld. The second one, the league has said, if it were reviewable, would have been upheld. That's not doing your job. What that is doing is letting the tail wag the dog on what the news of the day is, which is you have sports media is more than anything else directed by Twitter, because all of us are on it. Twitter's algorithm really, really rewards some of the worst actors. Those folks, at least, and this is why people said I went after Schefter. I didn't really go after him. I sent a couple tweets, but the thing that people thought was too much was I included his publicly reported salary of $9 million a year. And the reason I did that was to make a point. ML football and Dove and JPA football are out-of-work losers who make all their money off engagement bait. So I kind of respect the hustle. You've got to do this. This is literally how you make money. But, if the direct deposit's hitting at roughly $350,000 per, then probably you don't need that $1,800 a month that you're going to get from Twitter, because that tweet really cracked. And I thought it was. And the other piece of it is this. I'm a diehard football fan. This was one of the greatest storylines going into a game I could remember. Josh Allen trying to finally conquer this mountain, or the Chiefs, as you put it, trying to become the greatest team of all time. And that story was totally set to the back burner this week so people could indulge ref conspiracies. And then the morning of the game, the single biggest Twitter account in the football universe pours kerosene on the fire, I thought was a disservice to fans, a disservice to the sport, and insulting to the Chiefs. And so, yeah, that's why I did it. And and then I've got Hambone calling me intellectually dishonest, whoever that guy is. Whatever.
So I totally understand your point of view on the matchup itself should have carried the day, and officiating did. And I can tell you, I cut a video after the show for this YouTube channel, or after the game rather, last night, and it absolutely went crazy last night. It was one of our highest viewed videos with nearly 100,000 views in less than 24 hours, really less than 18 hours, which dissected the calls that went against the Buffalo Bills. And so I do think a lot of this is for people that realize it's great engagement, it's great traffic. We got to talk about the refs. However, I also think there's a legitimacy to talking about the refs, because I do think last night, like so many games before, it has felt as though the Chiefs have benefited from the doubt.
Last night?
Yes.
Last night, when the Bills touchdown before the half, if there was any pass interference, it was OPI, and they called DPI, but it was declined because he caught it, so that doesn't count to the numbers.
Well, we can go tick for tack on.
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
Okay, so I didn't like the Xavier Worthy catch because I don't like the idea that neither player has possession. The ball touches the ground, and they award it to possession on either side. I thought CBS also blew that by saying that's an interception. I said, no, that's an incomplete pass. I didn't like that call. That was benefit Chiefs.
So that call, which on the field was called a catch, which after the play was reviewed, I'm very glad you're bringing that up because, and this is to me speaks to the insanity of this, the way the internet has tricked people. Do you remember what happened after that play? Do you? I'm sure you do. The Chiefs ran a play.
Yeah.
They ran a play.
And then they went back and they reviewed it. Yep.
Is that allowed, Damon?
Usually not. No.
No. Not usually not. That's against the rules.
Well, it depends on when the side judge says the play is stopped.
Right. But we didn't. You're right. We don't know. You're right. If it were, but was there 1% of internet chatter about that? No, of course not. Yet, to this day, you'll hear people saying, oh, the Chiefs, early in the year, they let a coordinator call timeout, which never happened. But it was for a moment, people thought it did, so it became the truth. So that this play that got challenged probably late, because there was never a whistle. I went back and watched. There was never a whistle. That thing got upheld. If it had been called incomplete, there was a penalty on that already. And it was going to be a hold, and it was going to be first down Chiefs. Yeah. But then that would have been the conspiracy, right? It would have been it was incomplete, and they got bailed out with a penalty, which was a penalty. It's all nonsense. It's all and we literally these playoffs saw a referee come to the sideline and pat Josh Allen on the head, apologizing.
Well, hey, let's frame that correctly, though. Allen was the only guy that clarified what happened, and he says the ref came over and said, "Hey, chill out with criticism."
You believe that? You believe that?
Well, wait a second. What? So the only explanation of what happened, I'm just supposed to not believe? You're saying don't interpret your own facts, but you're telling me that you're interpreting your own facts.
No. It's not my own facts. I'm making this statement that I think you'll agree with. Have you ever seen that happen ever in the history of football?
It might not happen on the sideline, but it happens on the field all the time. Hey, chill
yes.
out.
No. Got it. That's not a question. Have you ever once seen a referee, your entire life watching football, come all the way to the sideline, go to the bench, talk to a player, do the international signal for my bad, tap his chest, the ref, tap his own chest and walk away? Have you ever seen a referee come to a player during a game on the sideline like that? I haven't. I don't have any conspiracy associated with it whatsoever. I don't care that Josh Allen, every single year of his career, is number one in drawing roughing the passer penalties. I don't care that he gets one for every 100 snaps and no other active quarterback gets even 0.7, because I think, you know what? Referees are generally pretty above average, okay? And the teams that we think get all the calls are just the teams who have the most standalone games, and they're always winning. So all the best teams, all the best quarterbacks, seems like they get all the calls. But the idea that wouldn't have been considered a 5-alarm fire if in the first playoff game of the year for the Chiefs, Mahomes demanded a call on the field, and then the referee came over and maybe chastised Mahomes, or maybe, I think it's a lot of people be like, is he apologizing to him and saying my bad? You and I both know that would have been the narrative.
Yeah, but that's really not a fair thing to throw over all of this, because Patrick Mahomes does get the benefit of the doubt from the officials. And I'm not even saying
based on what? I'm saying based on what?
Well, are you telling me that you don't think the officials, just like Tom Brady, just like Peyton Manning, and just like so many other Hall of Fame quarterbacks, get the benefit of the doubt on roughing the passer calls?
So do I think he gets a better whistle than Will Levis? Of course. Do I think he gets a better whistle than Josh Allen? Of course not.
Oh, no. Okay. So we can agree that Allen and Mahomes both
get
the benefit of
of course.
That's all I'm saying here. That's all I'm saying. So if an official went over to talk to Patrick Mahomes, it would not be surprising. It might be a 5-alarm fire, but it would not be surprising.
It would be shocking. I've watched football for 35 years. I've seen it happen once ever. It would be shocking anytime it happened. But this is kind of my point. Like, this is it. anyone that has watched the Chiefs the last 3 years and is ascribing, it's like, hey, in one bucket of the success is greatest quarterback, best coach, best defensive coordinator, amazing all-time defensive tackle, all this stuff. And the other one is, well, they did get that hold in the Super Bowl that the guy after the game said, yeah, I held him. I hope they were going to let it go. It's all, to me, it's foolish. And I think it is taking away from what we're watching. And I think it is disrespectful to the game as a whole that we are now, the Monday after this football game, talking about what that the two calls people are mad about is a call that was called a catch, reviewed, and upheld that we both, I think, agree with, very borderline, like could have been a catch, could have been an incompletion, and a fourth down sneak that they didn't get, that maybe he got, maybe he didn't, but one of the downsides to sneaking the ball is you get lost in the pile, and it was 3 inches on either side. This is what, as opposed to, I don't know, man, for the second straight year, Josh Allen had the ball in his hands with a lot of time, down 3, and didn't make it happen. Second straight year, world's at your fingertips, kid. Down 3. Time's not a factor, all the timeouts. He went, Kyle Brandt, as big of a Josh Allen fan as there is, tweeted, I bet he wants this one back. Made for this moment, essentially, this is your moment. 6 plays, 17 yards. Okay. I mean, but maybe it's Gene Sterator's fault.
Well, so here's where I think you lose people. I'll be very, very honest here. All of these things that you say are totally valid and logical, and things that I have echoed as well. That's Josh Allen's moment. He does not come up as big as Patrick Mahomes would have come up big. There are multiple moments where the Bills turtled, the play calling got conservative, they had to get off the field and they allowed touchdowns, and for some reason James Cook isn't on the field on critical downs. These are all Bills problems. But to not acknowledge that there has been questionable officiating, maybe on both sides, but at least there's been questionable officiating over the course of the postseason, and that people are upset because it feels like, whether it's right or wrong, that the Chiefs get the benefit of the doubt.
I don't give with respect, I don't give a shit what it feels like.
But
I don't care.
To just go on the defensive, to just go on the assault, I think kind of
Damon, who did I go on the assault on? Adam Schefter because of a terrible article?
Well, okay, that'd be one of the victims. Yeah.
Sure. Who else?
I think your whole tone is, if you blame the officials, you're so stupid.
You're a loser.
Okay. So
hold on. You think I'm sorry. That's a unique take. That's a Nick Wright take. Losing teams blaming refs is loser behavior. That's a new thing. I'm sorry. I thought that was one of the only things we all agreed on. Was blaming the refs is loser mentality. And doing what the Texans did, which is pre-blaming the refs, is outrageous. And again, if you're trying to act like I'm arguing a point I'm not arguing. There's bad calls in every football game, man. Did people like the unnecessary roughness Saquon got? Because I didn't early in that game. I didn't like that. There was I thought the Ravens got absolutely hosed by a wildly important DPI penalty at the end of the first half against Buffalo last week. That might have really changed the whole tenor of that game. My frustration is every standalone football game we watch, like, man, that's a big missed call. Man, that's a big missed call. The only one that gets ascribed conspiracy and it becomes the A block or the B block of the story is the Chiefs. That's what I'm saying. How much time was spent on the DPI in the Bills-Ravens game? 2 minutes? It was exponentially more impactful than anything that happened in the Chiefs-Texans game.
Totally fair. But so let's go back to the fourth down spot. because you're a Chiefs fan, you might not feel this way. But I think if you're just a football fan, you want clarity on why one guy can line up as a first down, one guy gets spotted as not a first down, and there is no clarification of why one gets overruled. And I think Steratore did a bad job of not explaining this. I think CBS constantly did a bad job last night of not explaining why things were going the way that they were. But that's a pretty crucial moment of the game. Now, the Chiefs defense collapses after that. The Bills defense. That's a Bills problem. They allow the touchdown. That flips the momentum. But could you see, as an unbiased fan, wanting just to understand what's going on in a massive game at a crucial moment, why something like that happens?
Yeah, of course. But I don't understand why anyone would jump to rigged. What you had two refs. One ref ran in on this side of the 40. One ref ran on this side of the 40. They talked. The one guy said, "I saw it better than you." That's obviously what happened. And then they went to review it. The problem with, I think, people that aren't disingenuous, such as yourself. I want to make sure I said it right. Disingenuous is bad. People that aren't disingenuous, I'm saying it properly. It's a double negative. So genuine people would be a better way to put it. The problem with genuine people carrying this torch is, if we carry it to its full logical conclusion, what are we saying? Now, disingenuous people will just be like, "It fixes it." Fine. What are we saying? Like that you had a spot. It was as close as it could be. We see this happen. It's not, and this is the other thing that I feel like smart people make themselves dumber for the sake of this discussion. You see something like this happen all the time. This guy says catch. This guy says incomplete. They get together. They don't then say, "I don't know." They make a call, and then they might review it. One guy always, if there is a disagreement, one guy always says, "I saw it better." Or "I know I'm right." I've never been an official. You can have an official on say, is it actually about seniority? Maybe it's not who saw it better. It's that you're a 3V and he's a 6A, so his call goes. I don't know. But that's not complicated. Like that's the part of this to me that is so maddening. I tweeted out all 7 of the roughing the passer calls Patrick Mahomes has gotten in this absurd sample that Schefter used, because he had the beginning point be right after a game they lost penalties 9-1. So like that's another reason. It's not even like, wait, did they win all the Super Bowls here? No, it includes 2021 when they lost the playoff game. It's not just a winning streak. No, it was an arbitrary start point because the Super Bowl they lost in 2020, the penalties were like 9-1 or 9-2. But set that aside. What are we? So you have 5 roughing the passer penalties, 4 of which are clear as day, undeniable. One of which was, you'd be like, I bet that's one Mahomes and Allen get and Will Levis doesn't. None of them are like, that was phantom, that was ridiculous. And then you have the 2 in the Texans game. So like, is this about that? Or is this about the fact, because here's my general thesis, Damon. The reason the audience is so prone to accept this and want to believe it is because the vast majority of sports media has been for 2 years explaining to the audience, actually, this Chiefs team is not that good. Last year, worst receiving core, oh my God, they've never run a road playoff game. Oh, they're going to lose to Josh Allen. This Ravens team's underdogs in all 3 playoff games, win the whole thing. People briefly make amends this year, and you know it, and people will try to revisionist history it. Worst team of the Mahomes era was thrown around. Worst one-loss team of all time. All these things. And so these people have staked out positions that make them look like fools. The audience has been told, this team's good, but not great. And now it's like, holy shit, they're favored to go to the Super Bowl? How'd that happen? You guys told me all year this team wasn't that great. Now they're 2 wins for being the greatest team of all time? Well, the only way a team that's good but not great could be on this type of run is with some, extra help. And I find it, what would have been easier if people would have just been like, yeah, turns out that playoff gear that all the great teams ever have had, this team has it. Turns out the thing that we always complimented the Patriots for, well-disciplined, no pre-snap penalties, don't beat yourself, championship teams had it. And it's not scandalous. And oh yeah, does a league that changed the rules. But Tom Brady got his knee blown out, they massively changed the rules. Aaron Rodgers got his collarbone broken, they massively changed the rules. Does that league, either consciously or subconsciously, take a little extra care of its star quarterbacks? Yeah, of course. Does that have anything to do with the nonsense that has been polluting now 10 days of talk? No. And the idea that I'm saying this because I'm from Kansas City or a Chiefs fan, as opposed to everyone else saying going the other way, because it's so much easier than being like, God damn it, I swore I wouldn't make a fool of myself again by underestimating this team, but I have. So now my bad. I find it outrageous. And if I hurt Schefter's feelings, I apologize.
Well, it's an interesting thesis on why this happens. I tend to believe this is just the culture we live in. I see my dad on YouTube watching like silly videos, and he comes out of them with conspiracy theorists, and I'm like, Dad, what are you watching? Why are you thinking this? I just think that's everywhere. Social media, YouTube. And so the sport is rigged is not something new, but it takes hold deeper now because that's the algorithm, as you just said. Certain algorithms, that it values that, it benefits those voices. But if this was the Patriots doing this, which it did happen, we said the same thing. The refs are in the Patriots' pockets. They always get the benefit of the call. I think you're particularly sensitive because you love the Chiefs, and a lot of the things you say are very right about the Chiefs. They are so superior at so many things. It is ridiculous to keep betting against them or picking against them. It's utterly absurd when people keep doing it. And I don't know if that's the reason they're hoping the officials are the ones that are, making the mistakes, or it's a convenient excuse. I just think the Chiefs' fatigue is real. And that happens again with every winning team. And people were sick of the Warriors. They were sick of the Patriots. They're sick of the Chiefs. That happens. And we live in conspiracy theory culture. That's the biggest reason this is happening the way that it is.
Well, I would say it doesn't. I mean, you know how much I love you and respect you and look up to you. I don't think it's helpful if the day after the game, we're doing 28 minutes on the refs.
Well, to be fair, I've had like 6 of those minutes. You have taken the torch.
But you, I didn't take it there. I didn't take it to any of the ref stuff. You not one thought on the games, how Mahomes did Josh Allen crump. No, it's like people like again, like that. You're right. I'm passionate about this stuff, so I talk. I'm long-winded, but the
reason I went there was because I know you're very passionate about this, and this is the fiery torch right now of every sports fan or every football fan. So for us to ignore it when
you think it was the fiery torch after, I know it was the Texans week. You think the story after Bills Chiefs was the refs?
I think a lot of people came away from that game talking about calls, talking about.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? If people
say that it was the A block on, I don't know what you listened to or what you watched today, but
no, I know for last week it was everywhere. Last week Aikman made sure that Aikman, does not like the way they protect quarterbacks. I get it, whatever, like that. No, last week there were 2 legitimate, like obvious moments like, oh, that's a controversial call. The color commentator hated it. It happened once, then happened again. Then Mahomes flopped on the sideline. Like, that's going to be a firestorm, right? If people watched Bills Chiefs and said the refs were the story, then I'm here to tell you, you can't watch football and enjoy it anymore. Chiefs Texans, I get it. Like, there were two massive calls. I don't even think they were like the second one. If they don't call it, it's 2nd and 6. I don't actually think it was that massive, but it was a personal foul penalty, whatever. And the color commentator freaked out. Got it. If you watched Bills Chiefs, you're like, these goddamn refs, then your brain's broken and you're not going to be able to enjoy watching the Chiefs play football because there are too many judgment calls in games. You are never, ever going to accept, like, the fact you're going to always ignore. I'll give you an example from the game. Josh Allen fumbled the ball on a quarterback sneak. We never saw who came up with it, and then a Chief is holding the ball, waving it, and the refs were just like, no, Bills ball. That, by the way, was the right call, and you see that in football all the time. You and I both know that the same internet accounts that drive this and then make people think this is the story, if the exact opposite happened, Mahomes fumbles, it goes into a sea of nothing, a Bills holding the ball, and they say Chiefs ball, it's a massive controversy. And so the idea that this is, if Bills Chiefs was a ref game, then every game's a ref game. If people who feel that way, you should go watch something else. Honest to God. Or you should, here's the other thing. And this is the other part about it where I know everybody's just lying. I know this is the other part that makes me so mad because I don't think people actually believe it's rigged. I don't think people actually think the refs are in the back for the Chiefs. I think they're whining babies. Guys, gambling's legal. If you think it is a rigged sporting event, I hope you have made mortgage payments betting on the Chiefs. Because this is a big thing you see all the time. It's rigged. They're losing next week. The fix is in. I can't wait till Josh Allen beats them. I'm like, well, that's odd. You are certain the thing's fixed. You're also certain they're going to lose. Okay.
All fair enough. I think where I come at it from is I try to be in touch with what people are talking about and what people are very passionate about. And I try to go there because that's what the conversation is. I think, I might be wrong, I thought a lot of people came out of that game wondering about the officiating, whether it was right, wrong, indifferent, one-sided, two-sided. I thought there were significant calls that people had questions about. So that's why I went there with you, because you did go scorched earth on Schefter. That was interesting. That became a thing yesterday. So I did want to get there. But you're right. Maybe we did too much of the officiating because I did really want to ask you a football question. And that is a legacy question because both you and I value the history of this game to a great degree. And I wonder if Allen hasn't done it yet, if it's ever going to happen. And if you were to step back and take the time machine 10 years in the future, do you think we will have ever seen Josh Allen win a Super Bowl?
Yes. Yeah, because he's the second best quarterback alive. So that guy, I mean, Mahomes not going to win all of them.
So see, and you began the conversation saying, kill the Bills because they traded.
Well, yeah, of course.
Well, he got the second best quarterback alive. So can you?
Well, that sucks. If it's not only you could have gotten the best quarterback alive, you could have gotten the best quarterback ever. Did the Rockets make a mistake? Akeem's great. Took him number one, won 2 titles. They made a mistake. Probably should have taken Michael Jordan. Just probably. I mean, I love Dream.
So you do think Josh Allen wins a Super Bowl?
Yeah, I do. He's second best quarterback in the league. So here's the other thing. I said, when you said at the beginning, when I said it should say Chiefs truth teller, here's the other thing nobody wants to hear. I've also only ever been a Bills truth teller. People can get as mad as they want. Every year when they were wildly overrated, I told everyone they were, and every single year I was right. I was never wrong about the Bills. Every year I said they were wildly overrated until this year when I said wildly underrated for the exact same reason they were previously wildly overrated. The media overrated previously the name players, Diggs, Poyer, Hyde, and that made them think those guys were better than they were, so the Bills were better than they were, but it also made them think their losses were devastating. All year long, I've said the Bills are the second best team in the league. All year long, I said that the Chiefs, Bills in the AFC Championship game, at the very beginning of the year, I thought the Bengals maybe could be there, but then it was very clear, Chiefs, Bills. I never believed in the Ravens. I thought the Bills could win that game yesterday. I didn't think they would. I thought they could. So, yeah, I think at some point they'll win a Super Bowl. The tricky thing for Bills fans is this. History does tell us coach quarterback together, if they don't get to a Super Bowl within 5 years, not happening. Like there's so what does that mean for Sean McDermott? I don't know. But Josh will win one at some point. I don't know when, but I would bet yes. Like of the active quarterbacks, I would set Mahomes' future Super Bowls over under if I set it at 3.5.
Including this one?
It was from today.
Okay.
Does he get over under 3.5 more rings? Because over would tie Brady. But the problem's the wrong word. I mean, he's, one game away. Like this one is kind of determines the bet there. Like if I were setting odds, I would set Josh's number at here's a fun one. If we set the number at 1, what would you do you think he's more likely to finish with 0 or 2? Is really what that question is. I'd probably go under, but if you set the number at 0.5, I would hammer the over. You know what I mean? Like I think he'll get one, especially because he doesn't fold in big moments. I don't think he plays his best at all times, but he certainly doesn't fold in big moments. Nobody thinks he folds in big moments. If you set the number for Lamar at 0.5, I would take the under. I think Lamar is going to have a tough time. And I don't know that he'll play as long. Burrow, if you set the number at 0.5, I would take the over.
It just depends on how many the Chiefs collect. And I know you have a run.
It also depends if some of those guys change conference. The NFL maybe should realign conferences based on quarterback power. Like it sucks that all 4 of those guys I just mentioned are in the same conference. Sorry, go ahead. I interrupted you.
Yeah, but I mean, Kelsey's going to retire here soon. Chris Jones probably has a couple of years of dominance. Yeah. At some point he gets older. We don't know who next wide receiver 1 is going to be for Patrick Mahomes. So there is the possibility that there is the dip, just like Tom Brady had a 10-year dip in the middle of his career where they don't win a Super Bowl. They might go to them and not win them. But, the last 2 years also, to your point, that the Chiefs have been branded as not a good version, and they might win 3 Super Bowls without Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, and last year's Chiefs team, that was legitimate. They were the 3 seed. They had 6 losses, all of it. The commentary surrounding this year's Chiefs team was some of the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. They had the best record in the league from start to finish. Go ahead.
I just don't know if these versions of the Chiefs that don't score 30 points, could lose 5 games of the regular season last year, et cetera, are collecting rings. I agree. I think Allen will get one. I think Burrow will get one. But, man, I don't know, because then it takes – somebody has to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. And what team or what quarterback is going to do so? Because they're not doing it yet.
Here's the more kind of complicated is the wrong word. Trickier part of it. You have to beat Mahomes and then not mentally treat that as your Super Bowl. You have to beat Mahomes and then win the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Like that, and that is forget whatever you think of the strength of the Chiefs, whatever. I guarantee the Eagles desperately wanted the Bills to win that game. Desperately. Because they would know, well, we've been here before, and the Bills are going to have felt like they just won the Super Bowl. And you know what I mean? And so that's the other, like, it's probably, like, oddly, does Jared Goff and Jaden Daniels and Jalen Hurts, obviously Jalen Hurts in it this year, but, do all those guys have a far better chance? Because they have two ways. Basically, those guys have two ways to win the Super Bowl. Beat Mahomes or beat the guy who beat Mahomes, like Stafford's way.
Have somebody else.
You know what I mean? Right.
Yeah.
Since Mahomes has been in the league, there's only one guy who has won, or one quarterback who's won a ring that isn't either him or the guy that beat him. Because Brady won 2. Brady went through Mahomes on both. Mahomes won 3, and we'll see about this one. And then Hurts, by the way, if he wins, it's the same thing. He will have beaten Mahomes. Stafford's the only guy. You know what? And I love Matt Stafford. I'm starting to think I don't know how much that ring counts. If you win a Super Bowl or in Patrick Mahomes' career and you have to beat Patrick, like, does that even count? That feels like people talk about LeBron's bubble championship. I might have to put a little asterisk because Stafford has a non-Mahomes championship.
And it defies logic that somehow the Chiefs led 21-3 in the AFC Championship game at home and lost the football game in overtime.
And that's the only thing, and again, the world changes, but that's the only reason they haven't been to 6 straight Super Bowls.
Totally. And look, if D Ford lines up onside, I mean, they go to 7 straight Super Bowls.
Well, but so here's the D Ford thing. I have mentally convinced myself, and I believe this. If D Ford doesn't line up offsides, now the tough part is if I think they win that Super Bowl, then it's like, oh, you get one and you're knocking Brady off from one. So now the race is really on. Like, that's the crazy thing about, like, just say the Tampa Super Bowl. If the Tampa Super Bowl goes different, then instead of right now it's 7-3, right now it's 6-4, with Mahomes having a chance to, like, in 2 weeks just be the consensus GOAT. If it were 6-5, but Mahomes had beaten Brady in the Super Bowl, had a 3-peat, and won 5 in his first 6 years, it wouldn't even be a debate. But here's what I was saying to the D Ford thing. If D Ford wasn't offsides, they wouldn't have fired Bob Sutton and hired Steve Spagnuolo.
Okay. Butterfly.
And without the Steve Spagnuolo, and if they don't lose to Joe Burrow, they pay Tyreek Hill instead of trading him. And I love Tyreek, but the Tyreek Hill trade is one of the greatest trades in NFL history. You got Trent McDuffie, George Karlaftis. Well, you got one of them. You got all these guys that helped build this defense.
Yeah, that's an interesting butterfly effect. That's a good one. I hadn't thought of that one. Well, I feel like that in 2 weeks we'll be ready for the Super Bowl, but I do think there was a lot of deflation yesterday because it was like most people wanted to see Jaden Daniels, or they wanted to see the Bills, or they wanted to see a combination of a new Super Bowl matchup. Like if it was the Chiefs, people wanted to see the Commanders. If it was the Eagles, they wanted to see the Bills. And now we got a rematch of 2 years ago. And I think it's going to go the same. I think the Chiefs are going to beat the Eagles in a tight game, and it's going to look exactly the same as it did 2 years ago. So I will leave you with this. Do you think the people that are kind of like, on the Super Bowl will come around and get fired up for it? Or do you think it's an matchup like the final Patriots against the Rams?
Well, I don't know that was an matchup. That was an game because Belichick depanced Goff. You know what I mean? Like, just that was – I don't remember going into that game thinking that, this game sucks.
I did, only because I wanted to see Mahomes. I think
people were –
That was exciting. Sure. Remember, that was when the Saints got robbed on the no pass interference thing. So a lot of people wanted the Saints in that Super Bowl too.
The NFL quickly transitioned from rigging things for the Rams. They should have rigged more for them to doing it for the Chiefs. Here's what I think. I think that the Chiefs are the biggest show in entertainment. And them being in the Super Bowl is always good. And the ratings back that up. The conversation backs that up. And people can, I understand, though, we wanted to see Jaden Daniels' side of it. but Chiefs Commanders would have felt like a 2-week coronation. This feels like the Chiefs could lose. Chiefs, they're like, with respect to the Commanders, there was a precisely 0% chance the Commanders could have beaten the Chiefs in a Super Bowl with that defense and a rookie quarterback. The Eagles have the experience, and it is the two best teams. Once the Lions defense got as banged up as it was, the two best teams were the Eagles and the Chiefs. It's pretty. I mean, let me rephrase. I think the two best teams played yesterday night, in the Bills and the Chiefs. The best team from each conference is who we've got. That should be great. And I am very excited for the following things. I'm very excited for someone within the Chiefs to remind the Chiefs that there are a lot of guys on the Eagles who a little under 2 years ago said they lost because of the turf. Back people, old school folks remember back before it was cool to blame the refs, it was the turf was why the Chiefs kept winning. It's never the coaches or the players or they're just better. It was the turf. And it was so weird because it was like the Chiefs played on artificial surface, and then when the Eagles had the ball, they switched out the turf, and then actually it was a pass rush problem. It's crazy. You wouldn't believe it. And the other thing that's going to happen is the NFL Honors is going to happen 2 days before the Super Bowl. And what you're going to see is nominated for MVP, Eagles. Nominated for Offensive Player of the Year, Eagles. Nominated for Defensive Player of the Year, Eagles. Nominated for Defensive Rookie of the Year, Eagles. 5 players at those awards. They won't be there, but nominated. And what you'll see is nominated for the Kansas City Chiefs, nothing, no one, anywhere. And it will, this week that ref stuff really did, I can report. That ref stuff was in the locker room, and it made the right people really angry. And they'll create a new thing this week or next week about the awards and about all of it. And I think they will submit themselves the greatest team of all time.
We have had an amazing run of guests here this season for football and Watch GA Live. But as I mentioned before, you were the king of traffic. You had the most watches, the most downloads across multiple platforms, and the most watched videos of all of our guests. And so that's why you are the only guy we invited back.
Two-time? I'm a two-timer?
You're the only two-timer.
Wow.
It's like a two-time SNL host.
I was about to make that same thing. I'm like Steve Martin. I enjoyed. I appreciate it. I say this like sincerely. I really like how slick and well produced this is. Like the intro, I think it's really good. I didn't mean to get contentious earlier. I love you. But it's weird, and I'll leave you on this because I know that was you saying goodbye. For someone, my wife tells me this all the time, for someone who ostensibly argues for a living, I don't really take people disagreeing with me that well. You'd think I would have developed that skill.
It's funny.
I get angry. I get actually angry.
Yeah, your blood boils, and it makes for great theater, and people want to hear what you have to say, which makes you such a compelling sports talk host. And it's amazing, but it's interesting because you can see the littlest thing, and you are now let's go toe to toe. And whether it was Josh Allen versus Mahomes, whether it was the referees, whether it was the rig thing, the internet, Schefter, whatever, whatever that thing is, you're kind of like Chris Jones.
I probably need to go to therapy.
Whatever that is, if you know how to pick that button or whatever, that button, man, you are on fire. That was great. We had so many comments that loved this. People saying this was the best episode ever. So I know I told you 15 minutes. It ended up being more than an hour, or not quite.
Right, yeah, because whatever. It was great. And again, you probably asked the amount of questions you normally would do in 15 minutes, but when every answer is 7 minutes long, I kind of do that to myself.
Quick question. Did you
Thank you for the tequila. I was about to say, I was like, should I just drink some of the tequila? And I was like, man, I have too many things still to do and too many things tomorrow morning to be drinking hard liquor. And I drink I drink tequila straight or on the rocks, but I don't, no mixers or anything. And I'm like, so all in the spirit of this show being sponsored by tequila, I'll drink during the show, but I'm gonna have a nice little glass of wine and relax. Thank you, Damon. I appreciate you, brother. And if I may, just one plug for the people watching on YouTube. The What's Right stuff on YouTube, trying some new stuff or whatever, check that out. And if you liked a few minutes of me on Adam Schefter here, you can get the extended version tomorrow. See you, buddy.
All right. Thanks, bud.
Bye.
Nick Wright joining us here on Watch GA Live. The only two-timer